What's up, ladies and gents? So today I want to go through my top 10 animated films of all time. I think the reason I wanted to do this list is because I feel animated feature films lately have been incredibly consistent quality wise. There are some on this list that I believe to be very underrated, especially those that aren't Disney or Pixar. At this point I feel I've seen enough that I love to be able to compile a solid list. For me, no matter the genre, I just love movies in general. Basically anything from the sickest of sickest horror films to the most enchanting family friendly feature. So I'll be doing more of these ranking vids, as you will then realise how varied my movie tastes are. But something I greatly appreciate about animated films from the past 10 odd years is that they are no longer just sort of kids films. The themes in them have become more mature and the stories have become more complex and just tailored so that adults can enjoy them just as much as kids. In fact, it's crazy. I think I love and appreciate animated films more as I've got older. Now, growing up, I actually wasn't really into many of the Disney classics, as they were all too much about princesses and singing and dancing. Even Lion King I wasn't a big fan of because of the sort of musical numbers, just not being to my taste at the time. First, some honourable mentions which didn't quite make it to my top 10 list, but I still love all these nevertheless. So my honourable mentions are Ralph Breaks the Internet, really underrated. I like it just as much as the first, deserved much more praise than it got. I think I love the world building, just so much energy, creativity and just some amazing concepts throughout. And then Wreck-It Ralph, some awesome nostalgia moments, and love the chemistry between Vanellope and Ralph. Yeah, really fun. Monsters Inc., Monsters University. I actually do prefer Monsters University to Monsters Inc. Land Before Time, which was one of my childhood faves but hasn't quite held up for me over time. Watership Down. I don't know how on earth that's considered a kids movie. I'll never know. It's freaking brutal. I just love it for just how ballsy it is. It should not be a kids film. They show that in the daytime at Christmas. It's insane. Original Disney's Jungle Book. The live action remake I think is probably the best live action remake Disney's made so far. I think it's phenomenal. Disney's Aladdin, more recently Coco, Shrek 2, which I think is the best in the series, and The Incredibles. My favourite as far as the action scenes are concerned. I don't think you can get any better on the action front when it comes to an animated film within Incredibles. Originally The Incredibles was a lot higher on my list, like a number 3 or number 4, but as you'll find out there are particular films that have come out since The Incredibles that I just enjoyed a lot more due to just being more relatable or just having a bit more to offer and a bit more to say. But despite that, I still love The Incredibles, and that's why it had to remain somewhere on my list. But now into my top 10. Now, apart from the ones near the top of the list, the ones at the bottom aren't necessarily in the order that I'll be saying they are. They could potentially move up 1 or 2 spots because there were certain ones where for the life of me I just couldn't decide which of the 2 I preferred. So number 10 is Disney's The Rescuers. Growing up, this in fact was my favourite Disney film and I still love it now. Like I said, I actually favoured this more over, say, the big ones like Lion King, Aladdin, Tarzan, just because it was just different and unconventional and had quite a dark tone to it as well, which is what I think drew me more to it. I mean, think about it, there's this evil old lady that has 2 crocodiles as pets that have kidnapped this little girl so they can force her into this cave to retrieve this gem. I mean, crikey. I think that's what I've always respected about Disney in general. They're never afraid to include real life terror in their movies and don't sugarcoat too much. I mean, in most of their films, a parent dies or people or animals get killed in some horrific ways. They should all be R-rated. I mean, what the fuck? But yeah, I just always found The Rescuers to be just one of the most entertaining out of the old Disney classics. For the good memories it has given me, 100% had to be on my list. At number 9 is a Studio Ghibli picture, and you can probably guess what it is. It is, of course, Spirited Away. I wouldn't say I love it quite as much as the others on my list, hence why it's low down, but this had to be in my top 10 just based on how ambitious it is. Not only trying to be a great animation, but just a great movie in general. The talent that goes on at Studio Ghibli is absolutely mind-boggling, and this is undoubtedly has to be their crowning jewel. The quality of storytelling is just phenomenal, not only in Spirited Away but in most of their movies as well. It just has an insane amount of detail to it, a fascinating world of fantasy, mystery, mythology, with some dark undertones and excellent world building. It's just so satisfying, the complexity of the story, which contains themes of greed and power, but the themes aren't really forced upon you. Spirited Away can be a pretty mesmerising film at times due to its surrealness, but by the end it does all make sense. You really have to go in with an open mind with Spirited Away. If you're willing to just let go and go along for the ride, then yeah, one hell of a ride it will be. What else I love about it is like non-linear plot and structure. You literally will never be able to guess what will happen scene to scene. Which is what makes it so captivating and what holds your attention throughout. It has some absolutely insane imagery. Most stuff you will see in it you've never have seen before. But like I said, you'll need to watch it with a bit of an open mind to appreciate it and just try and accept the things you're witnessing. Basically, it is a pretty trippy and crazy experience, to say the least. If someone was to ask me the question, are there any animated films you would consider to be a masterpiece, Spirited Away would be one of the ones that would first come to mind. It is an incredible journey into self-discovery, overcoming life's barriers and bettering yourself. And some of the characters are this kind of mirrored representation of the sins of humankind. It's definitely a film that has been analysed to death. I highly recommend it if you haven't seen it. So yeah, number 9, Spirited Away. Number 8 is Toy Story 3. My favourite by far of the 3 films, and oh wow, the way they end it is just pure perfection. They had to ruin it by adding a 4th film to the franchise, didn't they? Don't get me wrong, I really do like Toy Story 4, but the ending of Toy Story 3 was just wow, tears were had. I've never witnessed anything so relatable in an animated movie before. You have Andy at the end reluctantly handing over his childhood toys, essentially saying goodbye to his childhood. Oh man, that got me right about here. I always seem to have a fly stuck in my eye at that point. But yeah, just the colours in Toy Story 3 are absolutely breathtaking, probably Pixar's most vibrant film. And it's very funny too. The scenes with Ken and Barbie are just absolutely priceless. Then you have some genuinely scary moments as well, especially that fucking baby turning his head around, or that damn monkey. Christ, if I'd seen Toy Story 3 as a kid, I would never be able to get those images out of my head. But yeah, for me, out of the 3, the third is easily the best. It's the most meaningful, it evokes the most emotion, and just a really well told story. With all 3 films out, or 4 rather, you truly believe that you've been on this amazing adventure with all the characters and experienced their character arcs. I really like number 4, but at the end of Toy Story 3 is where it truly ended in my eyes. Next is Kubo and the Two Strings. Very underrated. This deserves so much more attention than what it got. I think at this point it's fairly well known, but not so much with mainstream audiences. So yeah, anyone watching this, I highly recommend you watch it. It is fantastic. From the same studio that brought us Coraline and Boxtrolls. The style of animation I absolutely love. I'm so glad the stop motion is still utilised today in films, and especially when it's used in animation. It is so impressive to behold. The amount of work and time that must go into stop motion sort of capture, I would not want to imagine. So in a nutshell, Kubo and the Two Strings is basically about holding on to memories of lost family members. Now the way they execute the story in this is just absolutely phenomenal. This would be another film on the list that I would confidently hail as a masterpiece. Like I said, the execution is just excellent, great action set pieces, lovable characters, a cohesively told story, a few twists and turns, and a very emotional ending. Heartwarming throughout, and not to mention breathlessly stunning to look at. In every respect, one of the most downright beautiful movies I've ever seen, let alone animation. Kubo and the Two Strings, check it out. Number 6 is a fairly recent one, and that is Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Talk about an animation that took me by surprise, holy shit. The artistic style in this is just too cool for its own good, and the comic book graphics that were incorporated into this were also an added bonus. Like the thought balloons and wavy lines to indicate his spider senses. Just made it more entertaining and very visually stimulating. I absolutely love everything about this film. The animation style, the plot, the characters, the pacing, thrilling action, some touching moments, and it's absolutely hilarious too. I've rewatched it so many times when it was out, and if I'm honest, it's probably my second favourite Spider-Man film. The only one for me that is still number 1 is Spider-Man 2, Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2. My wish is that they'd make a Batman animated film in the same style as this. That would be... At number 5 is Tim Burton's Corpse Bride. Again, another one on the list I believe to be very underrated. When it comes to this and Nightmare Before Christmas, I think Nightmare Before Christmas seems to have gained a lot more of the spotlight. But personally, I find Corpse Bride to be a far greater film than Nightmare Before Christmas. Better songs, better story, more imagination. Can I just say I friggin' love all the musical numbers in Corpse Bride, just fucking beautiful. And just amazing levels of creativity and just really fun too. I was pretty blown away when I first seen it, as I hadn't heard anyone talk about it. I only ever heard about Nightmare Before Christmas, only ever heard about that being raved about. So for sure it's one of, if not possibly my favourite Tim Burton movie. I absolutely love it. So yeah, Tim Burton's Corpse Bride, number 5. Number 4, Pixar feature, and that is Inside Out. Pixar are literally firing on all cylinders with Inside Out. They are honestly just showing off at this point. In regards to just the sheer creativity they injected into this film it's just crazy. It may as well be called Imagination, the movie. It is packed full of ideas, and before going into this, I was expecting it to be a movie solely on exploring like the different emotions, but it's just so much more than that. They explore all different aspects of the human mind. They explore like dreams, fears, memories, imagination, and even abstract thought, and just generally what makes you unique and individual. But yeah, this film is just freaking genius. I love the way all the different emotion characters interact with each other and the part they play in Riley's story as well. And also it's another tearjerker from Pixar. At its core, it's essentially a coming-of-age story, which is what makes it so relatable, which is why I guess such high marks for me personally. I absolutely love Inside Out. So down to the final 3, and at number 3 is Zootropolis. When I mentioned earlier about how Disney has started to tailor their animations more towards adults in relation to more mature themes and storytelling, well, Zootropolis is just a perfect example of that. I think it's definitely one of Disney's more mature animated features with regards to its approach to the plot and themes and storytelling. Such an awesome concept in Zootropolis, all animals living together in harmony in this one giant metropolis. What starts off as a simple plot of this bunny rabbit becoming a cop turns into this like non-linear investigation movie regarding all these animals that have gone missing, with an awesome like twist at the end as well. It's just so well written and insanely charming. It also contains a great message at its core, and it's also about like prejudice and harmony and just how the world would be a better place if we all just got along. And also how you should aim to be more, or can be more than the sort of what you're expected to be, by society. But doesn't force that on you. It's really subtle with its themes. It's all just handled in just the most entertaining way possible. Like for example, all the mice who work as like businessmen, or the sloths working in the bank. I just say that scene with the sloths is just absolutely fucking hilarious. That's the other great aspect about Zootropolis, is the humour is very witty, very, very intelligent. It's all about the small details I love so much, like the little mice-sized doors on the train, or the tall cars to suit the giraffes. Just so cool how everything in this world is adapted to every animals of every type and size. The movie is absolutely packed to the brim with details like this. I think that's part of what makes it so rewatchable as well. Zootropolis just has so much to offer, which is why it's so high on the list. Now, at number 2 is a film I almost forgot to put on this list because I haven't seen it in so long. Luckily, the wife reminded me to put it on here, so here it is. So number 2 is Disney's Emperor's New Groove. This movie is just so fucking hilarious and just immensely fun. First time I watched this, and even now actually, just from start to finish, it makes me laugh the hell out loud. One of the most entertaining animated films ever. Really took me by surprise. The character of Kronk just absolutely cracks me the hell up. Especially the scene near the beginning when he screws up trying to poison the drink. The first time I seen that, I was just in absolute tears with laughter. In fact, the whole film is, to my sort of taste in humour, it's just very spoofy, very daft with a dash of intelligence. Reminded me of Monty Python films in parts. I was utterly baffled the first time I watched this. I cannot believe there was a Disney movie that was this level of hilarious. Well, why are they not made more like this? They obviously are very talented when it comes to writing comedy. And Emperor's New Groove is extremely successful not only as an animated feature, but as a comedy as well. There's also very memorable scenes and very quotable dialogue as well. The other part that always has me in stitches is when all the characters are in the restaurant trying to avoid each other. It is just brilliant. Reminds me of something from a Carry On film. On top of that, you have this genuinely compelling story as well, with a really great character arc of the central character being the Emperor. Basically, the Emperor is turned into a llama by this witch because she wants to rule the kingdom, and then he ends up with this peasant who he promises to take him home so he can be turned back to normal, but only agrees to do that if he spares building a castle over his land. So on their journey together, they form this unlikely friendship whilst getting themselves into some hilarious situations. So overall, yeah, a film that has brought me just this much amount of joy. It had to be number 2 on the list. It is one of my most rewatched animated films ever. But there is one that's still yet to be knocked off my number 1 list, and that is WALL-E. I've thought a lot about why this is number 1, and I think one reason is because I believe it is still Pixar's most original film to date. I just think as well the sci-fi vibe it brings is part of what gives it the edge over anything else for me, because I'm a massive fan of sci-fi as well. It's just amazing how much personality they pack into this robot who barely even speaks more than a couple of lines. I adore the design of Wall-E and Evie. I could watch those two interact with each other all day. That's the genius with Pixar. They have this ability to make you fall in love instantly with an animated piece of machinery. The turn that the plot takes in the second half keeps the story so fresh, and I love the whole concept of humans living out on this huge ship out in space. And the technology has become so advanced that they're literally all humans are all obese. I also always really look forward to that part where they find the plant from Earth as a sign that Earth can be like re-inhabited. But the robots want them to stay with them on the ship, so this is where shit really starts to go down and the stakes get higher. So yeah, not only a great animation, but just a great sci-fi story where two robots fall in love with each other and they help humanity get back to recolonizing Earth. What's not to love? So yeah, those are my favourite animated features of all time. I want to carry on doing more of these lists, so let me know if there's anything in particular you want me to go through next. I've yet to see Pixar's Onwards. I will be seeing that soon, and I hope to do a review on that as well. From what I've heard, it's another hit from Pixar. I mean, still at this point, I don't think Pixar have made a single bad movie. They are incredibly consistent. But yeah, thank you guys for watching, and for those of you who have subscribed to my channel so far, thank you very much. And for those of you watching this for the first time, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to be notified of future content. You've been watching Feature Creature. I'll catch you next time.